Last time on the Skip and Josh podcast.
Now, I need to make a declaration. I need to backtrack on something that I've been talking about for 2 years.
I know what you're going to say. I
don't think you do.
I thought of you as this was happening.
I'm never, ever going to speak badly about icing the kicker again.
This is exactly what I was thinking
Really?
about. Exactly. Because
it
you even
worked.
said on this show that rule should be banned. You should not be allowed to ice the kicker.
But, it worked. Don't you think that it worked?
You're listening to the Skip and Josh podcast with Skip Sherman and Josh Obadia.
I'm Josh in Toronto.
And I'm Skip in Montreal.
In today's episode, we talk about some of the most hated sports teams
The NFL playoffs.
and some college basketball.
But first, let's start with some birthday wishes.
Okay, Skip, I know once again the the NFL playoff games just ended moments ago. Mm-hmm. And I know that people in your household are not jumping up and down or dancing. I know that.
Yeah, totally different situation in my house compared to last week.
But again, I don't want to start with football because there are some things that are going to fall through the cracks if I don't mention them at the beginning.
All right, so let's go. Let's look at what else is. Let's talk about what else is on your mind in the world of sports, and we'll get to football after.
So you remember how last week the whole PK Subban thing snuck up on me? I had no idea.
Yeah.
So again, this week, this Saturday, something else snuck up on me that I had no idea.
Which is?
Well, I'm very disappointed that I didn't celebrate Youppi's birthday yesterday.
It was Youppi's 40th birthday.
I didn't realize that's how old he was.
I saw a video on Twitter where all these mascots, it's like a 3-minute video.
You're going to have to post that on our website and send it to me because I would like to see that video.
They all wish Youppi happy birthday in various ways.
By the way, he looks great for 40.
He does.
He hasn't aged a bit.
No, he hasn't aged a bit. He's the same orange furball that we've known all our lives.
Now, you were saying that there was a video with all these mascots. Was Gritty in this video?
I don't think so. I was looking for him, and I don't think he was there.
And you notice you've never seen Gritty and Youppi at the same time.
No, that's right.
So, there might be something going on there.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Youppi used to be a baseball mascot, so now we'll talk a little bit baseball.
Major League Baseball.
We're going to baseball?
So yeah, there's so much money being thrown around this offseason in baseball. I mentioned a week or two ago how Matt Harvey, who had a lousy season, just got an $11 million contract.
Yeah.
So this past week, another player who had a lousy season, Brian Dozier, almost cost me my fantasy league championship. Mm-hmm. He just got a $9 million contract.
Well, anyways. Dozier is whatever. He was a pretty important player on the Twins, and they just kind of got rid of him because they went into a rebuild.
Yeah, but he wasn't good with the Twins this year. They were happy to get rid of him, and he did nothing with the Dodgers after they got him.
The Dodgers didn't even use him. But I guess there's still a market for a guy who can play second base and hit 20 home runs, even if he hits 187.
And the Yankees signed DJ LeMahieu.
I saw, yeah.
And I don't know if his stats are inflated because he plays, in Colorado half his games. We'll see what happens with that. There's a player who hasn't played a major league game who's in his life yet, and he's going to get a huge contract. And I'm talking about Kyler Murray, who's obviously the quarterback for Oklahoma. The A's, don't want him to enter the NFL draft.
Yeah, but there seems to be a lot of uncertainty, and I was reading a bunch of articles today about his contract status, and it's not really clear. There seems to be a bunch of loopholes in the rules, and at first people were saying if he goes into the draft and gets drafted, he has to give back his signing bonus.
Yes, that's right. But the A's could rip up the current contract they have with him, offer him a new contract. They'd have to put him on the 40-man roster. Yeah, and they could give him more money under the condition that he doesn't enter the NFL draft.
But this whole thing is terrible for both sports. It's been a long time since we had a two-sport athlete, right?
Well, not only has it been a long time, I think there's only been two that I know of.
I can think of at least three. So
who?
You're
Bo
probably
Jackson,
missing one.
Deion Sanders, and who else?
There was that guy Brian Jordan. He was a safety for the Falcons, and he also played outfield for the Cardinals.
Okay.
But yeah, the two big ones were Dion and Bo. But wouldn't you love to see it happen again?
Of course, I'd love to see it, but in this day and age, they won't even let what's his name, the Japanese pitcher on the Angels. They won't even let him hit and pitch, and that's the same sport. So you think they're going to let a player play two different sports? Plus, football, like you could get injured in your first game and never walk again.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened to Bo Jackson. He got hurt. He broke his hip, basically shattered his hip, and he wasn't the same in either sport after.
No, he wasn't. It was unfortunate because he was great. So, yeah, of course, I'd love to see Kyler Murray play both sports, but I don't know how it's going to be possible because the seasons overlap. So you'd have to miss either football games or baseball games or both.
Yeah. I mean, the seasons overlap, but we know that baseball and football, like with Bo Jackson, he was able to do both. He played like half a season of football and then baseball, basically most of the time.
And that's the other thing, by the way. If you were going to do
both. But a quarterback is a different story, right?
No, well, obviously, but if you're going to do both, and quarterback, actually, that's probably the one position other than kicker that you might be able to get away with it because there are so many rules to protect the quarterback. It's not like you're running back and you take a pounding every week.
But I'm not looking at the pounding. I'm looking at like the game preparation. You mean you have to know all the plays. The quarterback has to be the master of the playbook.
Right.
And you're not just going to step in from playing, center field for he plays outfield?
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not just going to step in from playing center field for the A's and then just be the starting quarterback, in the NFL. But what's interesting is he hasn't there. No one can get a read on what he's going to do. Like, do you have a feeling like he's going to play baseball or football?
I don't think he even knows what he's going to do. That's why no one knows what he's going to do. But here's the point I was going to make earlier. If he is going to play two sports, what's going to happen is he'll play a whole baseball season and he'll have to come in and play the second half of the football season or something that lasts 3/4 of it, let's say. Yeah. Meaning that if he's a team's starting quarterback, they're not going to have him for the first at least quarter of the season, if not longer.
Yeah. That's why, I mean...
So what football team is going to agree to forego their starting quarterback for a month or two?
It's not even that. He's not even going to get drafted unless they think he's going to really play football. Like whoever's... Unless he falls to the 5th round or the 6th round. But I mean, obviously as the Heisman Trophy winner, I mean, like he thinks he's a 1st round pick, right? So...
I think let me ask you this. So let's say he doesn't get drafted by a football team. Let's say he decides he wants to play baseball. He doesn't get drafted by a football team. And then the baseball season ends. So it's now like October and he's not playing. And he's just, sitting at home watching TV on the couch. Do you think a football team that is desperate for a quarterback would go and sign him? Are they allowed to do that? Or would he have to have been drafted?
Well, I mean, if he's really undrafted... really undrafted, I guess any team could sign him, but I feel like someone's going to pick him in the 10th round just to have them on their list.
I think you're right. You're probably right.
Right?
Yeah. You're probably right. Anyhow, one more baseball note. You had mentioned this to me, although I had this conversation with a colleague at work the other day when Russell Martin got traded. The first thing I said to my coworker is that, well, there's all these ads all over Montreal promoting this Blue Jays game that's coming up in March. And it's Russell Martin's face all over the place because, he's Canadian. And now he's traded. So, I don't think they're going to be able to change all those because there's like, even I think in the Metro in Montreal, they have like a huge, I don't know if you call it a mural or poster or whatever.
It's possible. But I mean, like he was traded on Friday, right? Like I saw commercials for that game today on TV.
Oh yeah,
during the NFL games.
And you know why you saw
he's all over it,
right? You know why you saw that commercial because it's not like previous years where all the tickets sold out in 5 minutes.
Yeah. There's a blitz for tickets right now.
Yeah, I mean, part of the problem is that the games are now on a Monday and Tuesday. It's not as attractive as a Friday, Saturday. So
right.
And from what I understand, last year and this year as well, they've closed off the upper deck. They're not selling any of the upper deck tickets at all. Mm-hmm. So
are you going?
No, I'm not going.
Oh, okay.
Well, again, because it's on a weeknight, so I won't be in Montreal. That's why.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, look, on Friday, the news broke that Russell Martin got traded, and the Canadian sports media seemed to, it was like a big story. You know, I even saw on Twitter like someone from Sportsnet was like, breaking news. One of the Blue Jays reporters, breaking news: Russell Martin's traded to the Dodgers. Breaking news: the guy hit 194 last year.
Yeah, it's funny.
And I looked that up to get the number right. He hit 194. I mean, he's not. He's not any news of consequence to anybody.
Well, no, it is a big deal
team.
because he's Canadian and because he's had a nice career, and he was on the Jays team that made it to the playoffs. So it is a big deal in Toronto. But
he's had a nice career, but we're past the point of saying, "Oh my God, he's a Canadian." There's enough Canadian baseball players in the league now where like, that the glow around having a Canadian player is like extra special.
No, it's because he's a Canadian player playing on a Canadian team.
I know.
So he was a fan favorite of a lot of people in Toronto.
I know he was. But when Rob Ducey was traded from the Jays, no one cared.
When my coworker told me that he was traded, first thing out of my mouth was, "Oh, that's a great trade." Except I didn't hear what they got back for him. But it didn't matter. But it doesn't matter because just getting rid of him is a great trade. And I mean, look, and hopefully the Jays will get rid of Kendrys Morales also, and hopefully they'll get rid of Justin Smoke as well. I mean, they're clearly in a rebuild now. There's no question about it, which is what they should do because they're not going to be able to compete with the Red Sox and the Yankees anyway. So
no, they have to.
They have to do what the Baltimore Orioles did last year.
Yeah. Well, that's tough to do what the Orioles did last year. Even if you try to tank, just like you proved in your NFL fantasy football, your pick'em pool, when you try to lose, sometimes it's not easy. I mean,
I think it's easier in professional sports than it is in fantasy football pick'em or whatever you call it.
But it's tough. The Orioles were like beyond pathetic last year.
They were. They were very bad.
I mean, you're still professional. There's still 25 guys on the team who are going out there trying to win games. They're not going out trying to lose.
No, they're not.
It's just that the team is putting out a team that's not good,
right? And by the way, I'll say here for the record, I have no problem with teams tanking. If you want to tank to get a higher draft pick, go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I agree. It's your right. I mean, it's the risk you take. You risk alienating your fan base, which in Baltimore, the franchise has been there for 100 years. I think it's one of the original American League franchises. So I think they feel good about, their fan base. Like if they can get their team winning again, the fans are going to come back regardless of how bad things get,
Yeah, listen, if the fans, I mean, yes, you might alienate them, but the thing is, if the fans know what's behind it, like, listen, we're doing this so that we can have a good team in 2 or 3 years from now and compete. Yeah. Maybe they'd be willing to wait. I don't know.
The Philadelphia 76ers are the classic example. 3 years ago, I went to a game in Philadelphia. I bought tickets day of the game for $12 and sat anywhere I wanted.
That's great.
And there was no one in the arena. And, they had their whole thing of trust the process. And now they're a good team. And now every game is sold out, right? But it doesn't always work that way, because the Oilers had first. Yeah, the Oilers in the NHL, the Oilers had the first overall pick how many times, right? And just because you have the first overall pick doesn't mean that guy is gonna. They drafted Nugent Hopkins, and he's a fine player. He's an NHL player, but he's not the impact player that they thought. And they drafted Yakupov, who's basically out of the league now, right? And Taylor Hall, who they made a bad trade, So I mean, they kind of got lucky that they got another first round overall pick, and they got
Connor McDavid.
Connor McDavid, right? Like that was like it had to happen 4 times for them to finally get it right.
Actually, I think there was a fifth one. There's a fifth one that you're forgetting.
Who's that? There is one. There is someone else. Maybe not. Maybe no wasn't first overall, but
Jordan,
it was the top 3.
Jordan Eberle.
Yeah, but he wasn't first overall. He was just like top 5. Right. But I mean. And then even with McDavid, they're still not doing great.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you want to talk about?
The National Football League.
Let's go to the National Football League.
All right.
Were you able to watch some games this weekend? This is our last weekend of football with 4 games.
I watched all 4 games. Now I didn't see every minute of all 4 games.
Me too. Today I did. Well,
for example, the early game today was over. The game was over in the first quarter, and while my television was still on for the entire game, I wasn't paying attention.
Me too. Actually, I changed the channel.
It was very disappointing.
But yeah, that was So let's start with that Patriots. Let's start with the Patriots Chargers then.
There's not much to say. It wasn't a good game. Patriots, they win all the time at home in the playoffs. It was really no surprise. And I mean, I feel bad for Phillip Rivers because the guy is going to retire soon. He might even retire. Like he hasn't said anything. But how many years does he have left? Not many.
Yeah, I know.
And he's had a really good career, and he's never made it to the Super Bowl. And
never made it to the Super Bowl. He never really won a playoff game, or maybe once.
Right. I mean,
they never made a run. You know?
No, they never did anything. And I was really pulling for them, and they had a great season this year until today.
They did. But I think it comes down to coaching because clearly the game plan that Belichick drew up and his staff, I mean, the game was over before it started. Right?
Yeah.
They scored on their first 3 possessions, like as if the defense wasn't even on the field, and the game was over. That was it.
It was over, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about it today because I know how much you hate the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was thinking about this. Is there a team in any other sport, even the history of any other sport, that's universally loathed as much as the Patriots are?
There are.
Yeah?
Well, the Yankees.
I was thinking of the Yankees are one in baseball, but are they hated as much as the Patriots are?
I think they are. I think they might even be hated more.
Really?
Yes, because they're in New York.
They're in New York, and all the West Coast hates them just because of that, right?
Yes. So that's
that could be. That could be.
That's one, and then I don't know.
Basketball. I was thinking about maybe the Cavaliers with LeBron in the last 5 years, just because there's so much LeBron haters.
Oh no, but
I feel there's a lot of LeBron supporters that.
But that's new.
Too.
That's new. Like
that's new. You know, I know that's new. But I mean, obviously, it's the Patriots it's new also. It's within 10 years. It's the last 10 years, right?
15.
Yeah, 15. But I mean, it's not the history of the franchise, you know. Like, and then I was thinking of college basketball.
Well, hold on. Before you go to college basketball, you forgot about the Celtics and the Lakers. Lots of people hate the Celtics and the Lakers.
There's lots of people, but I don't know. Like when the Celtics play like in the conference final last year, is the whole country rooting against them? Like the whole country's rooting against the Brady today?
I don't know, but when they make it to the finals, I think maybe people are rooting against them unless they're playing the Lakers.
Right, okay. Then it's 50-50,
yes.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
And then so like I was about to say, you know, the team that we love in college basketball, which is Duke, they seem to be also universally hated.
Oh, everyone hates Duke.
I mean, that was the one thing that came to mind. I think that might be the closest thing to what's going on with the Patriots. And I mean, in hockey, I couldn't think of one. I mean, yeah, there's lots of people that hate the Canadians. There's lots of people that hate the Leafs. But it's not like, but there's still plenty of supporters all over the country, right? So you can't say everybody's against them, you know?
This is true.
I was just thinking about that today because it's going to be interesting next week because I'm pretty sure that every single person in the country is going to be cheering for the Chiefs, except if you live in the New England area.
Okay, so speaking of, you know, most hated teams and all that you're mentioning, I received a press release about a week or 10 days ago. And it's about most social media engagements.
Oh, that's good.
This is only for college sports.
Okay.
So the top 3 college football teams for social media engagement. Mm-hmm. Number 3 is Georgia. Number 2 is Ohio State. And number 1 is Alabama.
Okay, well, the best team's not, like Clemson's not there, even though they're the best team.
And for college basketball teams, the most social media engagement, number 3 is North Carolina. Mm-hmm. Number 2 is Kentucky.
Yeah.
And number 1 by a landslide is Duke.
Yeah, because they have all the people that love them and all the people that hate them.
I guess.
Right?
It's interesting because Kentucky's at number 2. Kentucky's at number 2 with 11.25 million.
Yeah.
Duke is at number 1 with 29.41 million.
But this year's Duke team is also like quite an anomaly. We're going to get away from football now, but because of Zion Williamson and Barrett and this big class that they have, like I just feel that there's so much hype about them. You know, everybody wants to know what these guys are doing, you know, because they know they're the next big stars.
This is true.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get back to football.
So, Yeah, I mean, the Patriots, I'm definitely going to be cheering for the Chiefs, and I know you are, and I'd love to see the Chiefs make it to the Super Bowl because they haven't been there since like Super Bowl 2 and 3, I think. Since Super Bowl 2.
Okay, so can we talk about
Super Bowl 4, I think. But let's just look at Saturday's games before we go to the Eagles. Like,
okay.
There's not much to say. I mean, the Chiefs dismantled the Colts. I didn't think the game was close at all. Right?
I didn't think so either. And you know what? The snow, I think, helped the Chiefs because the Colts are used to playing indoors.
Yeah. And I mean, that was another game. It seemed to be over before it started. You know, they just came out and the Chiefs did what the Chiefs do, which is like a lot of misdirection. It's the typical Andy Reid stuff. It's all kind of misdirections and not trick plays, but just gimmicky type of plays, and that's the players that they have. And Tyreek Hill, they get him the ball in space, and he just runs away from everybody, and that's all you can do. And then the Rams-Cowboys, even though the score was close, the game really, really wasn't close. I mean, the time of possession and like the Rams, the way they just ran all over them, like literally ran all over them.
You know what I find interesting? You know, because teams only play one game a week in the NFL, whether it's playoffs or regular season, you have an entire week to think about and talk about the next game.
Right.
And so you have like these prognosticators who come on and tell you this team's going to win or this team's going to lose or this team will cover or whatever.
Yeah.
Those people who do those things, I honestly believe that they change their mind 17 times from Monday to Saturday because
Probably
you can
do.
convince yourself of anything you want to convince yourself. And at the end of the day, they all overthink this because Dallas, I'm getting to the Dallas game now. They are not a good football team. They were not a good football team all season long. They had maybe 3 quality wins all season. The Rams were easily going to win that game. Like anyone that thought anything otherwise was hallucinating.
Yeah. And then you're segueing perfectly into the Eagles game tonight because the Eagles are like, they weren't a good team during the year. They were lucky to make it to the playoffs. The Saints were the most dominating team in the league all year. And the fact that the Eagles made it into a game tonight is a testament to the coaching staff and the will and determination of the players, right? Because they almost could have won that game tonight. You know, they a one bounce here or there, literally off of Alshon Jeffrey's hands, and you don't know what could have happened. But like the Saints are the better team. There's no one ever gonna question that, right?
People have short memories. Like they forget how good the Saints were for 12 weeks in a row or something.
Right. But they've looked average. Like the Cowboys really made the Saints look average on that Sunday night game that they played, or was it Monday night? I don't remember.
Right, yes.
And Drew
because
Brees,
every team's entitled to have an off night.
Of course. You can't, it's 16 games, you know, and you don't get up the same as you do every game, you know, as you do for division rivals or primetime games or whatever the case may be. But it's interesting that the teams in the NFC, so we're going to have the Rams and the Saints, and I've told you this a few times this year, that we have this high-flying offense in the NFL this year with, how many did I tell you? 12 or 13 quarterbacks that threw for over 4,000 yards. That's almost half the quarterbacks. And Drew Brees isn't one of them. He only had like 39.95 or something, right? So, like, literally almost half the quarterbacks in the league are throwing for almost 4,000 yards, right? And touchdown passes and scoring and scoring through the air is at an all-time high. Yet the teams that are alive in the NFC are the teams with the dominant running games, right? Gurley and now CJ Anderson and Ingram and Kamara. You know, that's what you have, you know? And that's not a fluke because those teams get their passing game going by having this great running game also. It makes their quarterbacks that much better, you know, when the defenses are off balance.
The Chiefs have a good running game as well.
They did when Kareem Hunt was there, but they still are committed to the run, you know, in order to get Mahomes, you know, the looks he needs, you know, on offense. And the Patriots never had a dominant running game, but they always managed to effectively run the ball. Right? You just don't know which running back it's going to be from week to week that's going to get the touches.
Literally, I couldn't even name you their running back because every week it's a different guy. And whoever it was last week might not even be on the team next week.
Yeah, like today, what's his name? White had a huge game, right? He got a lot of touches and, you know, like receiving and on the ground. But next week it could be that guy. What's his name? Rex Burkhead. Like they have all kinds of guys. Belichick's going to look at the Chiefs and he's going to decide what they're going to do. And actually, the Chiefs are extremely weak against the run. So I wouldn't be surprised if Belichick's going to come out and just try to run the ball next week. He's just going to we'll see. Because if it's effective, he's going to run the ball 40 times.
Right, for sure.
Right? Right?
Oh, by the way, I don't know if you noticed. The line already came out for that Chiefs Patriots game.
Right,
and the Chiefs are actually favored, and I think it's the first time in like 67 games that Tom Brady is an underdog.
Wow. Amazing.
Which I don't understand, because I could swear that the Patriots were an underdog at least once this year in the regular season. Anyway.
So, and I mean, I'm assuming the Saints are favored in their game.
Actually, I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah,
but I'll find it.
I mean, if you just want to look at the gambling angle, the first 3 games this week, the favorite covered, the Chiefs, the Rams, and the Patriots easily, and the Eagles were the only team that the Saints were the only favorite that didn't cover. The Eagles actually covered the spread. It was like an 8-point, I think. So, all right, so that's. I mean, I'm looking forward to the NFL. Like next week, it's like I said, it's sad that. We've had our last week of 4 games in the weekend, so next week, poor us, we only have 2, right?
I do like the fact that there's Saturday games for this week and last week. I don't know why they don't have fun. Saturday games during the regular season as well.
They do only on occasion, like around Christmas time or sometimes the last 2 weeks of the year. But yeah, well, I know why they don't, because they don't want to compete with college.
Yeah, but whatever.
I don't know if it's like an official agreement with the networks or it's a TV thing, but they just don't want to be on the same time as the college games.
So here's the stat I found it. New England opened as a 3-point underdog for the upcoming matchup in Kansas City, ending Tom Brady's 67-game streak, including playoffs, of being favored to win as the starting quarterback.
So 67 games in a row, he was favored. But like you said, you thought they were an underdog at one point.
So then I must have been wrong. They probably weren't an underdog. I just thought that there was a game on the road this year that they were the underdog. I don't remember which, but whatever. I guess I just misremembering.
That's a good word.
Yeah.
Good word.
I learned it from Roger Clemens.
You misremembered?
Yeah.
About taking steroids?
Well, he said that Andy Pettit misremembered.
That's what it was.
Is what he said.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's what it was. So I'm finished with football.
College basketball.
And and since we already alluded to college basketball, I wanted to ask you if you watched that. Well, I know you did. You watched the Duke-Florida State game on Saturday.
I did. Yesterday was quite a good day, actually, because not only were there 2 football games, but TSN actually did something great for a change. They had back-to-back college basketball games all day long.
I think it's going to be like that the whole year.
Well, I hope so, but yesterday, I think it was from noon until 11 p.m., you could watch nonstop college basketball on TSN if you wanted. And one of the games was, of course, the Duke game.
And it snuck up on me because I just don't expect those games to be televised. And you texted me and you're like, are you watching the Duke game? And I'm like, what? It's on? So I watched the second half and it was quite exciting, although I didn't get to see Zion because he got poked in the eye.
Yeah.
Didn't play the second half, but it was an exciting game, a great game. It's always a battle against Florida State, especially in their building. They always play us tough. In fact, the announcers, the ESPN announcers, were saying that there's been 2 times where Florida State has knocked off Duke when they were number 1. Like 2 other occasions. So I thought it was an exciting game, and of course I love the way it ended with a 3-pointer at the buzzer to win it. Right, that's always exciting.
Yeah, it was. I'm glad they see, because Duke's played a lot of games that are just they've been over at halftime, and I mean, I don't want to see them beat Army or whoever they're playing against, by 50. That doesn't do anything for me.
But no, the conference schedule started now though, and even then, the first 2 games of the season before this, they blew out their opponents.
Right,
that was ACC. That was ACC play.
Well, Florida State is a ranked team, first of all. Second of all, Florida
14.
State went the same. They went to the Elite 8 last year, just like Duke did. They lost in the Elite 8 last year, just like Duke did. So they're not. I mean, they're no pushover.
Yeah. What's your impression of the team? Like, I know we've seen them play a lot more this year than a typical Duke team at this time of year. Like, how do you feel about the team, and do you feel like good about their chances of like winning it all?
I mean, I definitely feel good because the difference with this team is it's not just one guy that, you know, other teams can key on. And if that guy is cold, then the team is done. There's like 4 or even 5 or 6 or 7 different guys that can get the job done. Like, no one knows who Jack White is or Javin DeLaurier, but these guys play important minutes. And
Jack White looked terrible. I mean, he's an important player on the team because he plays great defense and he's a good rebounder as well for a guy his size. But his shooting was horrendous yesterday.
Yesterday was a bad day, but he's had good days where his shooting is good. And yesterday it was Cam Reddish that was the hero because you know, he happened to be wide open, and you still have to hit the shot even though you're wide open, and he did. So and they put up a stat during the game yesterday. They were comparing Trey Jones to his older brother Tyus, who also played for Duke, I think 4 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, 2014,
And Trey Jones actually has better numbers than his brother did at this point in the season.
Yeah, because at this point in that season when Tyus Jones was there, Tyus didn't have great stats as a Duke. He wasn't a big scorer, right?
No, but he had a lot of assists.
A lot of assists, but Trey is a superior defensive player.
For sure,
There's no doubt in my mind about that. Yeah.
Speaking of Duke, by the way, remember Chase Jeter?
Chase Jeter
used to play on Duke.
He was like a 6'10" guy, maybe big man. Yeah, I remember him. He sucked.
Well, he plays for Arizona now.
Oh, he transferred.
Yeah, so he's still in college basketball, just playing for a different school.
Oh, good luck to him. I hope he does well.
Yeah.
He seemed like he had a lot of potential, but it's like he was always a bit lost.
Did he have the same jersey number as Derek Jeter?
He did wear 2 on Duke. You're correct.
Look at that.
But he wears 4 on Arizona.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. I mean, I don't think I have anything else. Do you?
Nope.
So just want to remind everybody that to subscribe to the Skip and Josh podcast. You can do so on iTunes, Stitcher, Google, and of course Spotify and TuneIn Radio, wherever you get your podcasts. And you can like and follow our Facebook page. If you want to get in touch with us, it's skipandjoshshow@gmail.com is our email address. And of course, you can follow at Skip and Josh on Twitter. I must have tweeted 50 times today during the Eagles game. And as always, all the links to everything that I just said are on our website, skipandjosh.com. What were you going to say?
Speaking of you tweeting, the listeners don't know, I'm sitting there watching the game live, and all of a sudden I'm getting all these texts from you, like, oh, interception, oh, touchdown, this and that, all caps and everything, as if I'm not watching the game. And then I responded to you, I'm like, are you going to live tweet the entire game? And then it turns out you meant to send those messages to your son, not me.
Yeah, he was going to miss the first 10 minutes of the game today because he has a part-time job, so he missed like most of the first quarter, but I figured I would text him what was going on in case he didn't know, and I texted the wrong person.
We leave you with this.
So anyway, I have a question. You know how we do our end of year, I wouldn't call them awards, but you know, best of 2018, best of 2019, so on and so forth. So are we allowed to pick the same thing in consecutive years? Or the same person, or the same player, or the same song, or the same movie?
Not?
Or are we allowed to do a repeat?
Well, we've always had like we've always said that it's our show, we make the rules, so we can kind of do whatever we want.
So the reason I ask is because, so you know, my favorite show this past year was Entourage.
Right, but and it still might be next year.
Well, because I only saw the first 5 seasons in 2018.
I say you're allowed.
And now I just watched the last 3 seasons in 2019.
Right.
And it was awesome. Like, I'm sad that the show is over.
I say you're allowed. So you have to watch the movie now.
Well, I will watch the movie, but I may pick it as my favorite show again. I have to tell you, I know you've seen it and everything, and you know, people must think, why is he saying Entourage is his favorite show? Because it's like a dumb show, but it's just hilarious. It's hysterical. And the last season, by the way, was different than all the other seasons. Like, first of all, somebody killed himself in the last season of Entourage, which is a serious thing. And
Yeah,
they
of
never
course.
did any serious stuff in the first 7 seasons.
I think they were trying to figure out how to keep the show going, or I'm not sure.
But, in terms of like, there's just so many scenes and lines that you don't expect, and they're just so funny. And
But don't you find it got repetitive after like one season after another? Was all the same stuff?
I don't think so, because you had mentioned that to me when I was halfway through it, and I was waiting for that to happen. But even though, there were some similarities and Ari's always freaking out and yelling at people and whatever, there's different things happening. Like the last season, for example, it wasn't whether, this director wanted Vince for his movie or not. Like, they wanted him. That wasn't the question. The question was Vince on drugs or not? Was he going to pass his drug test or not? So that was different. By the way, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen the show yet. I just ruined everything for you.
Well, it's 10 years old, so I'm sure it's fine.
But I was able to watch these last 3 seasons because I got this free HBO Crave TV for 2 months.
Ah, very good.
And so now I'm going to start watching Curb Your Enthusiasm from episode 1.
You should do that. I watch Curb Your Enthusiasm often when I'm on an airplane, which is often this year, and they're always great.
But I'm going to watch them in order.
Yeah. But no matter what season you watch, they're always great. They're all so good. Yeah.
Anyway, I took way too much time. You can cut that off.
I should cut it off.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's supposed to be short. That wasn't short.
All right.
You'll decide.
Okay, so, well, in that case, maybe let's just end the show, and I won't have anything to add at the. We leave you with this.
Okay, I ate up your time.
You ate up my time.
All
That's
right.
okay.
Well,
I'm fine with that.
It's payback for you cutting me off all the time.
Perfect. Now we're almost even.
All right, talk to you next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.